So it just so happens that today we have Gray's GT3 with us. So Gray's GT3 is going to be a 2018 model, and that's going to be a 991.2. And then we have on the right side, well, my right side, we're going to have our GT3, which is going to be a 991.1. So all your 991.1s are going to be from 14 to 16, and then your .2s are going to be from 18 and on. So key differences, obviously, besides the visual aspects of the car, are going to be in the motor. So the motor in the .1 is going to be a 3.8 liter, and then in the new GT3, it's going to be a 4 liter. So they both rev out to 9,000, but then those are just the the .2 difference. So it's kind of like the S2000 where it's AP1 versus AP2. So both these cars are equipped with the carbon ceramics. The wheels are going to be the same. So the dimensions of the body and the chassis are exactly the same. But obviously you have your visual differences, especially the front bumper. It's very obvious that the two are going to be different. So the headlights are the same, and then on the rear of the vehicle, we're going to have the deck lid, which is going to be slightly different as well. So the deck lid is going to be completely, well, it's not completely different. Well, in a sense, it is completely different because you can see this one big intake vent, while on the .2, we're going to have the split intake vents here. So you can see that it's split apart. And then on the wing itself, the end plates on the .1 here are going to be significantly thicker than they are on the .2. And then the rear vent is going to be on the deck lid itself instead of being on the chassis. So obviously that improves visual aspects of the vehicle. So you can see this part is going to be on the, you can kind of say it's on the rear bumper. And then on Gray's car, you guys heard that cold start. So Gray's car actually has an IP exhaust. And then this is what the rear diffuser looks like. We actually have an aftermarket diffuser on our car. And on the interior, both of these cars are spec'd with the 918 buckets, and then they both have a roll cage. So the roll cage is not a factory option in the US, especially for RS cars as well, but in Europe and in the other markets, it is a factory option that you can have the roll cage. Obviously, safety regulations in the US are have always been kind of iffy. And then on the interior as well, so it's going to have so the 991.1 doesn't have a backup camera, while the .2 does have a backup camera. And then also the interior, the steering wheel is, on the .2 is one of our favorite parts about the .2. The steering wheel on the .1 is kind of dated and very big, while the .2 has that smaller steering wheel. It's the newer version from Porsche, which is an option on a majority of the newer Porsche cars. So here we're inside of Gray's car right now. So you can see this is going to be the 918 buckets. So on Gray's car, it has the red GT3 stripe and the red stitching, and it has this Porsche badge here, while on our car, it has the GT3 logo instead, and then doesn't have that red stripe. But both the seats are going to be carbon back, and while in this car, it has the red seat belts, and then in our car, it's going to have the yellow one. And then this car, so Gray's car also has the harnesses, while we don't have the harnesses in ours, but we do have the harness bar attached to, obviously, our roll cage. And then so now onto the interior of the .1. So you can see that visual difference between the steering wheel, but otherwise, besides that, there's really not too much of a difference. And then on the, like I said, there's backup camera in the .2, while on the .1 there is not. But the seats are both the same. Both of the seats are going to be non-reclinable. You can kind of tilt it a little bit, but you can't really recline it. It's still going to be a fairly upright position, because obviously when you're driving on track, you should be sitting in a more upright position to have better control of the car. So one more difference between the two cars is going to be that the 991.2 does have an option for manual, while Gray's car is going to be PDK. But while the car has manual, it does have no lift shift, and in Sport Plus mode, it does do the auto rev matching for you. So you can look like you're a race car driver, even if you don't know how to heel toe downshift. Another visual difference on the vehicle, which may or may not be aerodynamically different, is going to be the door handles. So on this door handle, it's going to be a one-piece, unlike on the .1. So on the .1 here, we're going to have a two-piece handle. So you can see the difference where it has this piece where it just kind of protrudes out from there, while on the .1 it doesn't have, or .2 it doesn't have that. So one good point that Leo mentioned to me just now is that the fog light, or the daytime running light, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be integrated into the intake, while on the .1 here, it's just going to be a protruding piece, and then while the intake is going to be obviously just right there and open. And then, so there's also differences in the two cages. So this one is going to be a GMG cage in our car. And then on Gray's car, it is going to be a Cantrell. So Cantrell is a local Porsche shop or motorsports shop that specializes kind of in Porsche, but they do all kinds of motorsports stuff. And they're literally just down the street from us. And then obviously one difference is going to be the 4.0 on the wing, and then it says 3.8 on the 0.1. And so obviously today this video is just going to be showing some minor differences between interiors and just key visual differences to differentiate between a 0.1 and a 0.2. So I don't know if we'll get the chance, within the near future to be doing a back-to-back review of the 0.1 versus the 0.2, but both of these cars do have the rear wheel steering, which I personally don't like very much, but obviously that's a personal preference, and I'm not a race car driver, so